All right, meeting is live and it's linked up on the website.
Okay, we're ready to go, Jamie?
Yeah, so if you want to give everybody a little bit of time to get in.
Sure. Okay. Okay, we're getting through a little bit of technical difficulty there to get that link up. So we'll wait a minute so the participants in the community can link to the town hall. I appreciate your patience. Okay, Jamie, are we ready to go?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, we're all good.
Okay. All right. Good evening. Brian O'Hara, Superintendent of our amazing Girard City Schools. I want to welcome you to our Safe Return to School Town Hall meeting here. And we do have a panel that will be able to answer questions. Our administration, our special ed director, Jessica Krumpak, our Prospect Elementary principal, Dr. Debbie Gratz. She'll be with us in just a few minutes. Our GIS principal, Mrs. Ware, she's unable to attend due to a family commitment earlier scheduled. And then our junior high principal, Jen Santangelo, assistant high school principal, John Cardero, high school principal, Sam Caputo. We also have with us this evening, Frank Migliozzi from the Trumbull County Combined Health Department Commissioner. He'll be sharing some updated information with us. Our Board of Education President, Mr. Mark Zuppo, has limited participation rights due to the Sunshine Law. And then Mrs. Algiers, Mr. Ragazine, Vince Ragazine, Mrs. Sue Ellen Davis, and Mrs. Karen Thomas have access to listening to tonight's town hall. So that being said, our goals for this evening and agenda, we'll have a conversation, some review with, as I mentioned, Mr. Migliozzi from the Trumbull County Health Department. We'll look at the tenets of our continuity plan that's located on the website of our Girard City School District. And then we'll review those other bullet points there with the calendar schedules. And then the other tenets related to the continuity plan of health and safety, transportation, technology, learning platforms, the school survey that came back, building procedures, and upcoming dates. That being said, Mr. Migliozzi, are you with us?
Yes, good evening.
Okay, hi, Frank. I appreciate you taking the time to be with our community this evening. I know your schedule is always very tight. So Frank, what about the landscape that we're currently experiencing in terms of some of the COVID and the, the rate in the cases and vaccinations, et cetera? In a nutshell, could you give us an overview?
Sure. I'd like to start off by saying, I'm very pleased to be here tonight, although my time's going to be short. Being a former graduate of Girard High and a Girard resident, it's good to spend time with everyone tonight. But I do want to start off with saying the goal of the Ohio Department of Health and of the Trumbull County Combined Health District is to see to it that we have in person 5 days a week learning as well as sports and extracurricular activities to be able to occur this school year. However, we really need to understand that the 2021-2022 school year is going to begin with a significant wave of COVID surging, and it's most likely the Delta variant. The state yesterday estimated that all the cases that we're seeing are about 86% most likely as a result of Delta. Our cases on a weekly average, we were seeing about 16 to 18 cases per week, or about 2 to 3 cases a day. That occurred for 3 straight weeks. And in 3 short weeks, we surged to 171 cases. Today alone, we had over 50 cases. We're on pace to go well over 200 cases before this week is out. That just gives you an indication how fast the Delta variant can spread. And now we're averaging about 25 cases a day. And we are also seeing an increase in our hospitalizations as a result of that. The Delta variant is 50% more contagious than what we saw in the fall, which was the UK variant. And the UK variant was 50% more contagious than the original variant, the original virus, I should say. So now we're dealing basically with a virus that is 100% more contagious than what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic. It takes much less of the virus and less contact time to become infected. Unfortunately, our vaccines are highly effective against the Delta variant from severe disease and death. And our previous prevention strategies that we went over with the school last school year of masking, social distancing, hand hygiene, and environmental cleaning are still very effective tools that the school district has to prevent outbreaks of COVID. In fact, just so you can understand how effective the vaccines are, in our county alone, we are seeing over 99% of hospitalizations are of unvaccinated persons. You hear of breakthrough cases. This is a fact of breakthrough cases in our county as of yesterday. We have 20 breakthrough cases of over 84,000 individuals that are fully vaccinated. That equals 0.2%. So it's very effective. Unfortunately, we have to consider the low number of individuals that will be attending class that are not vaccinated. Keep in mind that those under the age of 11 and under cannot be vaccinated. So when you look at the whole student body in our county, of Trumbull County, we are only about 14.7% of students are vaccinated. When you look at those eligible, it's not much better. It's 26.5%.
Frank, I thank you for that update. Can we take a few minutes and go over the recent Ohio Department of Health K-12 quarantine flow chart?
Sure.
I'm going to pull it up on the screen. I don't know if you're able to see that or. Nope. Frank, this was released, I think, August 9th. Is that correct?
It was, yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I know it's forever changing. So in terms of this chart, if I understand it correctly, if we have in a school district in a class, this is for a classroom setting and on buses, basically, that if we have masking of all students and staff, regardless of vaccination status, at least 3 feet between desks, and that we have continued with our mitigation strategies that we implemented last year in terms of cleaning, sanitizing, ventilation, et cetera. This states here that if we do have a contact and all that is in place, I'm looking at the right side over there to the blue all the way, that individuals can safely remain in the normal in-person classroom setting, participate in extracurricular sports activities as long as they have no symptoms.
Yes, that is correct. This was a guidance document that the Ohio Department of Health put together last year as the school year went along, and some of it was based on scientific studies that are actually one of our school districts here in the county participated in to show how effective masks are in preventing having heavy viral loads in indoor environments, and allow for individual students to remain in classrooms at that distance safely. So yes, you can, if you utilize, have a universal masking policy of those, whether regardless of their vaccination status, there will not be a need to do contact tracing in those settings. And I think we do need to step back 1 second to understand that even though the governor has rescinded all orders, the issue of isolation, quarantine, contact tracing was never spelled out in any of the governor's orders. So isolation, quarantine, contact tracing are universal tools that all health districts use in disease control. And so that is in the infectious disease control manual, and it's also spelled out in Ohio Revised and Administrative Code that we will certainly be doing contact tracing, especially in congregate care settings, which schools are classified in the IDCM as a that type of setting.
Thanks, Frank. So if we go over to the left there in situations of a contact with the, let's go down that left side with no vaccination and no mask. And then the contact here, it says should, can return to the normal classroom. This would basically be our K-6. And then what did you say the percentage of, I think 12 through 18 is 27% for the
26.5%.
Okay, so our K-6 and then the remainder of students not vaccinated in 6 through 12 or 7 through 12. But anyway, so they can return to the normal classroom and extracurricular activities after 7 days if they've received, a negative COVID-19 test. But that has to be given, the test has to be taken at least after 5 days, correct?
That's correct.
So they would be quarantined for 5 days if they were exposed.
Quarantine is 7 days.
Okay, up to 7 days. Okay. And then if that was positive, back to the date of the positive test, it would be 10 additional days. It could be up to 17 days of quarantine and isolation combined.
Yes, it can be that if somebody were to, on day 7, that they were in quarantine, develop symptoms, it would be 10 days then from the first onset of symptoms and 24 hours removed of those symptoms. So yes, you're correct.
Then from the guidance here, quarantine decisions then would start from my seat. However, we report those to you of exposures, and then it's in your department to do the tracing and determine, if there's an isolation on a positive test, et cetera, and the dates for that isolation.
Yes. As COVID-19 is considered a Class A reportable disease under Ohio law, it has to be reported to us. Any positive case would be reported to us within 24 hours, and we have 24 hours to conduct the case tracing of the infected individual and determine who were close contacts. We would expect the school to work collectively with us on that process of making those determinations, and then appropriately determining those that are vaccinated would not have to quarantine. Those that were properly wearing masks in the classroom would not have to quarantine. So there are a number of measures here in place that if they're used with having masking and vaccinations, a combination of those, that we can avoid having individuals being removed from school and not being able to participate in class and in sports. So, to avoid disruptions, seriously consider vaccinations and masking your child, and we should be able to get through the bulk of the school year in person. And that's our goal. Like I said, that's what we're hopeful to accomplish.
Thanks, Frank. So this states here too that this flow chart applies only to exposures in the K-12 classroom. And of course, we have a federal order that we have to mask on the buses, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
There is yes, you're correct. It's defined as public transportation with the requirement of masking.
Okay. Thank you. And then, but this is not applicable to any exposures in the community, extracurricular activities, and sports environment. So if we do have an exposure outside of the classroom, then we use your current protocol. You may have updated this. I'm not quite sure.
I did. I sent it out to ESC
Okay. I
about an
apologize.
hour or
It's the one
so
from
ago.
May. Is there many changes to it?
It just has the component of a vaccinated individual
Okay.
that would
I'll
not
make
have
sure we
to
get that
would not
updated.
have to quarantine.
So our student athletes then are kind of a special group. I mean, they have the quarantine guidelines for the classroom, but if something happens outside of the classroom, then we go through the Trumbull County guidelines here for quarantine and isolation.
Correct. And this would be used in your most likely your cafeteria setting as well, where it's going to be challenging keeping individuals
Okay.
distant. The 3-foot distance matters and masking matters, and obviously it's going to be challenging for individuals to have a mask on and keep that type of distance. And even the distance that they're maintaining in a hallway would matter, and that's not an easy thing to usually track.
Okay. What about eating snacks in the classroom?
Yeah.
We have a
If you
15-minute
have-
interval for our younger kids to have their snacks.
If you have a masking policy in place and they are wearing a mask, and then what we would be looking at would be the contact time. So if it exceeds 15 minutes, then we would be looking at a necessary quarantine in that instance. So if it does not exceed, and that's for individuals within 6 feet. So if you have your desks 3 foot apart, they take them off to have a snack, and it's short-lived, then you would not exceed that time frame.
Okay, Frank, I know your time is limited. Jessica, is there anything out there in the chat that Mr. Migliozzi may have a chance to address? Or?
No, there's not.
Okay.
The big question is just if they're going to be required to wear masks or not.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Frank, I want to thank you for your time again, and always appreciate the support that you give our school district and our county from your seat. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, and my pleasure. I look forward to working with you this school year.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks.
Okay. As we move on to the continuity plan here, and we'll talk about the health and safety here shortly, just to remind you, the continuity plan in its entirety is on our website. It was required for us to receive what we call our ESSER dollars from the different agencies to help with the extended learning and maintain the continuity of services in our district. There's also a feedback link on that form if you ever want to put input or questions about the continuity plan. It is a fluid document. It's a work in progress. It needs revised at least every 6 months. And as new information comes down and different components of our school district are revised, we'll update that. Okay, the student learning platforms, we will offer in-person learning 5 days a week is the way we want to go, and we want to sustain that without interruption. Hopefully you have filled out the return to school safely learning platform survey on our website. It is still open. However, the time is ticking here so that we can get our class rosters together, et cetera. So we are offering a remote virtual learning. We need some medical documentation as required as to why not attending school. That will be through a third-party curriculum that will work with the Trumbull County Educational Service Center on that. And we have a couple different platforms at different grade band levels. That being said, we will contact you if you filled out the form for virtual learning within the next few days about our orientations on Wednesday, August 18th at the Girard High School, room 123. grades K through 5 at 5:30 p.m. and grades 6 through 12 at 7 p.m. And the student should attend, and any primary educational supports that will be at the home. As we well know, the virtual learning, we need stability and one educational, or hopefully more than one, able to understand the program that the child is experiencing. Please use the front entrance of the high school. That being said, in terms of the in-person learning situation, from my seat, I'm given the responsibility from the Board of Education for the health and safety, 1,700 students and over 200 employees. From looking at the data and talking to the different agencies, the COVID-19 virus still remains a threat. And for the ongoing health and safety of our students, our staff, our volunteers, and to keep the in-person learning for our K-12 students as continuous as possible, I am requiring that we wear masks until further notice. We will have masks, we'll have the 3-foot distancing, we'll have the shields in the cafeteria when they are eating to help as another measure of mitigation should there be an exposure. In terms of contact tracing, et cetera, I think Frank covered that pretty well. Vaccinations, I have to express kudos to our nurses here and our nursing aides and the work that they've done to have host sites here at the school and the district for vaccinations, and I'm sure that will continue in the future. We have put a significant amount of dollar into our HVAC system to enhance the air quality control, which is very good year in and year out. And then we have additional applications of the polymer and the probiotic disinfectant, which is a very safe approach to disinfections and disinfecting, excuse me. Moving along, please keep in mind, if your child is not feeling well, please keep them at home and be very cautious of the situation of these symptoms here, as we shared last year. And of course, these are the symptoms that we would use through our nursing support in terms of possibly identifying symptoms of COVID-19. Our food service, again, we're able to provide free breakfast and lunch to each student this year. Hot lunches will be in the cafeteria. And I mentioned that we're in the process, we ordered them and they're being manufactured at this time. Table shields within the cafeteria at a 3-foot distance. Our technology, we'll talk more about this a little bit later. We will be going 1-to-1 with Chromebooks in grades 4 through 12. And our K3 will have the computers in the classroom. Mentioned a little bit about the ESSER dollars and the continuity plan that was for the extended learning. And this is some of the participation that we had this year and the number of seats in the terms of extended learning. That was for grades K through 12. Positive coaching activity, mostly grades 3 through 6. Our STEAM, basically grades 5 through 12. And our band, 5 through 9 grades that we had participants. So we're very happy about this participation. I anticipate that we will be able to provide these extended learning opportunities again next summer, along with opportunities during the school year for extended learning. Briefly to talk a little bit about our academic and SEL support and our approach to instruction. It's referred to as the multi-tiered system of support. It's usually illustrated in a triangle here, or in terms of how we go about instructing students. We've put a lot of time and effort into professional learning over the last 18 months to work together with our administrative leadership and our staff. And when we give that first approach to all students and we introduce a concept, are we using as many resources to get to the learning modalities of our student, whether they're visual, auditory, or hands-on. And after that approach, how are we identifying the students at the sum part of this triangle that we may have to do additional different teaching of small group, et cetera. And then the few students that still need additional supports, whether it be one-on-one tutoring, help from our guidance department, et cetera. I don't want to overwhelm you, but our continuity plan says that we need to have, a framework in terms of our academic and SEL support, and this is what we're working under. We've done, as I mentioned, a lot of professional learning for our staff over the last 18 months. There were numerous opportunities that were voluntary this early August, and next week when our teachers come back before the students, we'll be working together again in collaboration to enhance those strategies of that multi-tiered system of support. Hopefully you're aware of the fact that we did have a change in our calendar, both in the workday and actually the calendar days of the school year. This has been on our website for a while, and through recent work with our associations, we've added more time to the day for these reasons here, to give us more equity in terms of enrichment and intervention periods throughout the day and the school year. It allows us to have some more safety in terms of teachers being able to have time to be more boots on the ground a little bit when students are coming into the school district at recess, et cetera. The calendar is available on our website. Our teachers return next Tuesday, the 17th, for some days of professional learning, and then our students return Monday, August 23rd. The change in the calendar allows for a full week of spring break around the Easter celebration. And so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page with that. Our building schedules are posted here. I'm sure that each of our principals will reach out to their families through the various means that we use, either the all call system or the all text, and even probably a snail mail. In terms of building safety, we will still continue to take temperatures as we enter into the buildings. Sanitizing stations are set up. Masks will be worn at all times until further notice. Table shields, and all scheduled visitors will be required to wear a mask. Students should bring reusable water bottles to school. We have increased our number of touchless water fountains throughout the district, and we will have a limited amount of actual water bottles, bottles of water, should I say, for students in the classroom. And we want to make sure that the grades 4 through 12 must bring a clear water bottle. We will be back to using our lockers, and again, high-touch areas will be cleaned daily. Transportation, again, masks by mandate are to be worn when they travel on the bus. Sanitize the hands. These bus stops and times will be posted on our GirardCitySchools.org website, I'm sure by mid-week next week, with the routes also posted at each building outside or on the windows of the entrance to each building. Hopefully we can get that accomplished by orientation time next week. Okay. Any questions about the busing, please contact Lori Brinker at extension 405. Technology devices, as I stated, grades 4 through 12 will receive their own device and charging cord. And our teachers will be maintaining a classroom, Google Classroom, for different resources, et cetera. and the fact that we would have that resource should we have to quarantine or isolate. And K-3, again, the devices will be in the classroom. The handbook and the Chromebook service request form, this PowerPoint presentation will be posted on our website, I'm sure by early tomorrow morning. So these links will be available, but principals will review these resources and their upcoming orientation presentations. Okay, our safe return to school, as I mentioned, is on the platform. I think we have close to 1,500 of our maybe 1,650 to 1,675 students reply. If you have not replied and you do not reply, you will be scheduled as an in-person learning. If you are going remote, again, it is under a medical condition due to a lot of the regulations from the state in terms of us having a teacher of record, et cetera. Okay, Dr. Gratz, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, you're up.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. O'Hara. This is Prospect Elementary, our arrival procedure for this year. As was already stated, the building will open at 8:30, so students can enter the building at that time, but not before 8:30. Our school starts at 8:45. The tardy bell is going to ring at 8:50. We're going to continue to use the new process we used for arrival and dismissal last year. It worked out so well. Please enter only through the Prospect Street entrance. Stop at the main doors by staying on the curbside, stop at the main doors and your child can exit, and then you would exit through the Forsyth Street exit. Same thing in the afternoon when you're arriving to pick up your child, you'll enter again through Prospect Street, come around to the main door. There'll be personnel there that will state your son or daughter's name. You'll have to put that original laminated family card in your windshield. I know that we had pickup of those cards Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of this week. And we also mailed out the rest of the cards to families later on today. So everybody should have their cards before. If you do not, please call the school. We'll make sure that you have a card before we start on August 23rd. Those cards went to all families because even though there's everyday car riders, which use it every day, many families on occasion need to pick up their children and are car riders for certain days. So that's why every family got those cards. Dismissals at 3:35. Again, there is a process there on the screen as to what I just stated. We are going to have our orientation. It's really to meet the greet. There won't be a formal presentation, but on Friday, August 20th, first grade families, we're asking that only one adult accompany the student. Again, please wear masks. They must be worn, and you can bring in the school supplies. And if you're not sure about the school supplies, we do have those listed on the website, or you can come into the main office. We have them there as well. First grade on Friday, August 20th, you can come anywhere between 9:30 and 10:30. Second grade between 11 and 12, and third grade will be between 12:30 and 1:30. Our kindergarten, we of course have a staggered start. So on August 23rd, when the district from 1 through 12th grade is starting, we have our screening of the kindergarten students that came and enrolled in the summertime. On Tuesday, August 24th, you did receive a letter in the mail, and you're going to receive a second letter in the mail later on this week or beginning of next week. It was already mailed, depending on when it arrives at your house. So you'll either come on Tuesday, August 24th, or you're going to come on Wednesday, August 25th to orientation. You can see the room numbers, which will indicate which day you will come. And on your letter, there was the room number and the teacher. It's on Tuesday, August 24th, that's the date that you're scheduled to come. If your last name begins between A and L, you would come 9:30 to 10:30. If your last name begins M through Z, then you would come 2 to 3. And the same thing on Wednesday for those students whose classroom is room 27, 29, or 30, A through L, 9:30 to 10:30, and then M through Z, 2 to 3. Our Boys' Day will be on Tuesday, August 31st, where only the boys come, and Girls' Day, Wednesday, September 1st, only the girls come. Now, on the 2 days in between that, which is Thursday, August 29th, and Monday, August 30th, we are going to have our KRA screening. and the teachers will be reaching out to you to schedule a time on that day. All kindergarten students will come together on Thursday, September 2nd.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Gratz.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Krumpak, are there any questions that we would address at this time?
Yes, the one question that came up is if about the kids with not medical conditions, if they're able to be able to stay remote. Because the surveys that indicates medical conditions, their concern is about because the kids aren't vaccinated.
Okay, would you have them call my office, or I could have a further discussion on that in terms of?
Sure.
Okay, so please call my office on that in terms of the medical condition. However, due to some of the regulations that we have to go onto this platform and teacher of record, et cetera, it's preferred that we find, some type of reason as to why that student can't be in school, whether it's a medical or possibly a social situation. So please contact my office tomorrow morning and we'll have further discussion on that. Anything else? Jessica, or Mrs. Krumpak?
No, there's nothing else. That was the one that came up.
Okay, thank you. Okay, intermediate, I'll represent Mrs. Ware on this information here. Pretty straightforward as to what Dr. Gratz was talking about in terms of the opening of the building, car riders, bell schedules early on. Okay. A little guidance of the walkers and the car riders and kind of an orientation as to what street they'll be on, et cetera. Okay, again, the PowerPoint will be posted on the website early tomorrow morning. And then the GIS, meet the teacher. So those dates and times are posted there. Okay, moving along. Mrs. Santangelo.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Mr. O'Hara. I want just to express how excited we are to have our students back at the junior senior high complex. And I am going to go over our arrival and dismissal procedures. There are not a lot of changes here. However, we do have a slight adjustment to our start time. So I'd like to highlight that our students will be able to enter the building beginning at 7:40. So our doors will open at 7:40. If you're a car rider, you'll be entering through the front doors on the Shannon Road side of the building. That has not changed. Drivers and bus riders will enter through the cafeteria side in the back of the building. And our walkers can continue to use the most convenient entrance. Students will enter our building, they will sanitize, we will take temperatures, and we will have an opportunity there to use lockers and report directly to first period. Along the way, students will have the option to take breakfast with them, and our first period class will begin at 7:55. We have eliminated large group breaks. However, students should not be concerned. They will be able to use the restroom or do whatever they need to do just by getting a pass out of classes. And our school day ending time, again, another change to highlight, will now be at 2:45 p.m. Okay, so again, this slide does apply grades 7 through 12. And I just want to highlight that these are some of the things that our students are likely to bring to school with them to be prepared. Please, a charged school computer, a school Chromebook, should be brought with you daily, along with, if you would like, some earbuds. And if you would like, a clear water bottle can also be brought with you to school. And then very specific to my students at the junior high school, we will be hosting orientation nights next week, and we will have orientation for both 7th and 8th grade this year, which is a little unusual, but we did have an unusual year last year, so we want to go over the ropes again with our 8th graders. So we will have 7th grade in on August the 18th, and we're broken into 2 groups, A through M and N through Z. and you will just attend during your scheduled time with one parent. Our masks will be required, and our entry will be through the back doors, the activity wing entrance. And our 8th graders will be on the following day, that Thursday, again, broken down A through M, and again, N through Z, 6:30 and 7 p.m.
Okay, bringing along Mr. Caputo, our high school principal. Sam?
Greetings, everyone. And thanks again, Mrs. Santangelo, for highlighting kind of the 7-12 changes in the schedule that she did. Again, to be respectful of everybody's time, rather than have me kind of reiterate those things, she obviously did a great job of going and handling 7-12, since our arrivals, our dismissals, our lunches, and our lockers, et cetera, are also similar. I just wanted to highlight very quickly our 9th grade orientation. It'll be next Tuesday evening, August the 17th. Again, as you see on the slide there, A through L at 5 o'clock. We're expecting the presentation to last about 45 minutes. So from about 5 o'clock to about 5:45. And then the second half of the alphabet, M through Z, at 6:30, ending at about 7:15. If there is a conflict, please, send me an email or call my administrative assistant at the high school, and we can work out any type of conflict that you may have on that evening to get you the information that you need. Again, we're asking that masks be worn. We'll use the cafeteria high school gym entrance, and we will, meet in the cafeteria and get our 9th graders all the information that they need to get off to a great start. For our upperclassmen, grades 10 through 12, I did send out a message earlier today, emailed the students, and then did send a text alert to parents just about when schedules can be picked up. That'll begin Monday afternoon. From noon to 2, we'll do 12th grade. And then from 2 to 4, we'll do 11th grade. Grade 10 will be the next day from 12 to 2. And then we'll be there 2 to 4 for anybody who missed their original pickup time. In addition, as you see there, anytime after your scheduled pickup, you're able to pick up your schedule. Again, we ask that you not show up before your scheduled time because we want to keep the crowds to a minimum and keep our time staggered. But that being said, if I am a senior and I can't get there from 12 to 2, I get off work at 3:30 or that sort of thing, you're welcome to come during the junior time to pick up your schedule. So again, we ask if you miss your scheduled time that you come to a later time, but not an earlier time, just so we can keep crowds to a minimum. Again, also, masks, please be worn. We will pick up right in that main hallway by our main stairwell. So the kids will enter through the high school main office doors, and they'll exit through the junior high doors. So we get a nice flow there. One other question I've had a few people ask. I know 9th graders are getting an orientation. What about sophomores, juniors, and seniors? I know that hasn't been done in the past. However, with all the changes that we've had and the interruptions that we've had because of COVID, and then for those of you who have juniors and seniors, you are probably aware of this. The graduation requirements were a moving target for these classes even before COVID hit, with a lot of the legislation being changed. To make sure you have all the information you need for that, we will be having an orientation for upperclassmen once after school starts. It's less of an orientation and more of a fact night that will get you up to date on graduation requirements, diploma with honors requirements, post-secondary options, college scholarship opportunities and application process, and things like that. We are planning to do something like that for our upperclassmen the week of August 30th. So we'll get ready to welcome our kids back. We'll have a great first week of school, the week of August 23rd, and then sometime in the evening of August 30th, we'll have an announcement soon on which day we will do a kind of orientation college night, graduation requirement night, and that sort of thing for our upperclassmen.
Thank you, Mr. Caputo. athletic eligibility at Mr. Caputo or Mr. Cardero?
I'm happy to do that.
Okay,
Go
Just
for
very
it.
quickly, we played with the eligibility. OSHA played with the eligibility piece a little bit because of COVID, relaxing certain requirements and that sort of thing. Just to be clear, those days are over. So the eligibility does revert back to the old OSHA standards. For grades 7 and 8, that is that students must be passing 4 classes to be at in the marking period prior to their sport. What that means is, for our fall sport athletes right now, it goes back to the spring semester from last year. For students who want to play basketball in the winter, they need to make sure that they pass, at least 4 courses in the first grading period to be eligible for athletics during the second grading period. It's 4 courses for junior high students, and it's 5 credits if you are a high school student, grade 9 through 12. Again, if you have any questions, either myself or Mr. Cardero or Mr. Cochran are happy to answer those questions. But again, I just wanted to review those requirements.
thank you.
Okay.
Okay, the next few slides just summarize all of the orientations that were mentioned here over the grade levels. So they're in these slides for you. And then some upcoming dates, of course. Our first day of school is Monday, the 23rd, for 1 through 12. And Dr. Gratz has talked about the kindergarten schedule coming back to school as those students enter into their school experience. And there's no school on the 27th. And then those kindergarten dates are there for the boys and the girls and all students. And no school a long weekend for the Memorial Day weekend, Labor Day weekend. I always cross those lines. Okay, if you do not receive the school messengers, please call the building to update your phone number so that we can make sure that you are receiving the communications from the building and the district. I want to wish all of our students and families best wishes as we return back to school. As consistently as we can for 5 days of learning with the least disruption as possible. The mitigation strategies and choices at this time were based on the current landscape that we have in terms of the health and safety in the county and our school district. And as that changes, we will revise those mitigation strategies accordingly. So until next time, we are Girard.